the bride and sisters doing a striptease and the place caught on fire. Nothing like a casual move falling out at a wedding. We got some more tacky and trashy weddings. Their words and not mine. Let me know what is the tackiest thing you've seen at a wedding or throughout the wedding process. I want to know. But before we get into it, it's hydrating time, okay? Take a sip of water. Your body needs it, all right? It's because I care about you that I encourage you to drink some water. Cheers, hope you're having a good day. I was the bartender and it was a hoot. First, the wedding was outside and it stormed violently. Second, the groom was already hammered before the wedding and hit on all the bartenders. Then the DJ got hammered and made lewd comments to women over the microphone. Okay. Then basically everyone got hammered. At one point, the wedding cake, which was on a table with many candles, was knocked over and the place caught on fire. The few of us who weren't drunk put it out. Good times. Candles aren't on a wedding cake, right? Guys, obviously I've never been married, but I've never heard of people blowing out candles on a wedding cake. That's just a birthday thing, because you don't want a bunch of holes in your wedding cake and stuff, right? Like, do you put candles on a wedding cake? Now I'm questioning everything. I've never seen that. What candle would you put? It's not a number. You're not turning a certain age. Why would you put candles on a wedding cake? I went to a wedding in a police station cafeteria that was Matrix themed. This sounds like fun. The groomsmen wore floor-length leather jackets and tiny sunglasses. Sign me up. They insisted on calling each other Neo and Amorphous while high-fiving each other. It was painful. There was a lot of tension at the wedding because the groom cheated on his bride a few weeks earlier, but she still decided to marry him. Great choice. His family was trashy and took the view that the son cheated because the bride wasn't good enough for him. Great. Her family was pissed that she took him back, and her sister's maid of honor speech was very sarcastic. Everyone who knew the story was cringing. The dad's groom was so drunk and grinding with some woman. His wife saw, oh my God, and started screaming at him. They wouldn't stop fighting. So they cut the music and had the 4-piece high school band play classical music. It included a squeaky clarinet, which was very bad. The MC made a slideshow of images from the movie with the groomsmen's faces badly photoshopped on. At one point, the groom's drunk dad stood up and told a long, convoluted story about a wife giving teaspoons of sugar to God. It made no sense and had a very sexist undertone. He was cut off. I take back my initial excitement there. I pictured a Matrix themed wedding and the outfits, and we're in a police station cafeteria, and I'm like, you know what a vibe that would be. Not quite where I saw it going. Yeah, I want to have a Hannah Montana themed bachelorette. I'm not even kidding. Bless the souls of those who remain in my life for when that time comes. I once worked at a wedding where when it came time for the first dance, no one could find the groom. Turns out he went to the resort's shooting barn, to shoot clay pigeons. Oh, like fake pigeons? Upon learning this, the bride cursed up a storm on the dance floor. I'm just very confused. I don't even know what a shooting barn is. A barn where you shoot things, apparently, at the resort?
Relaxing.
And you think during your wedding that that's an appropriate time to go and shoot things? You couldn't wait. The wedding was in a suburban driveway. Cheap venue. The maid of honor stole the bouquet from someone's garden, and best man proudly announced he had shoplifted the rings. The groom wore a button-down shirt that said F off in fancy lettering. The bride stopped in the middle of the vows to yell, "Get that effing kid out of here." She was talking about her second child from a previous relationship. When it was over, we apologized to the celebrant. He said he'd seen worse. Well, I don't think I want to know what the worst is. To each their own when it comes to how casual your wedding is. To me, I understand why people are like, oh, that's so tacky. It's in a driveway. You're not even wearing a dress. You're wearing a t-shirt, whatever it is. You do your wedding however you want. I don't think you need a big fancy wedding like everyone has. I really don't. You can get married in the freaking courthouse. You could get married in a backyard, in a driveway. I don't think that matters. Some of the other things, however.
Yikes.
There was a wedding where the groom's mother was feeding sweets to the bride. They can be sticky and messy, and she accidentally accidentally dropped one on the bride's expensive wedding dress. The bride said, "You ruined my wedding dress, you biatch." The groom told his wife to apologize. She refused, so the groom told her he was getting divorced and left with his family. Everyone else started leaving too. They had signed their wedding papers only a day earlier. So what, you were married for like less than 24 hours? That might be the shortest wedding in wedding history. That's honestly like one of my biggest fears on my wedding day is staining my dress. Because I'm so clumsy. Even wearing this white sweater, you guys, I had to make sure I put it on at the very last second because I'm wearing white. It's like a curse. Something is getting on it. There's always a stain. So I can be as careful as I want to be and something happens. And I'm like, oh my God, on my wedding day, I just know. And that's why I'm gonna bring a Tide to Go stick because I just know it's gonna happen to me. And I just want to accept the fact before it happens, you know, like just embrace that it's gonna happen. I went to a wedding on a Florida beach behind a Hooters. Yo, Hooters has good food, okay? The officiant stood next to a trash bin as if it was planned. The trash collector pulled up during the vows. Did he wait to change the bag? Absolutely not. Of course not. Children at the wedding swarmed the couple like flies around the trash can just after the kiss and stepped all over her dress. She bent over to adjust her sandal and a pack of Marlboro Reds fell out of the bust, along with her right breast. I'm assuming that's like a cigarette brand. I think I've heard of it. It felt like we were rubbernecking instead of witnessing a marriage. Nothing like a casual boob falling out at a wedding. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that because I don't have any. I went to a wedding in a funeral home once. Morbid. I drove by it 3 times before realizing that it was, in fact, the correct address for the venue. The reception and ceremony were there and there was no alcohol served. But why? There's gotta be a reason for that, right? I don't know. I hate being in hospitals and funeral homes. It's like their smells, and obviously it's because it's just, those are places where very tragic things happen. And even if I'm just visiting someone in the hospital, even if they just gave birth and it's an exciting thing and I go to a hospital, it makes me nauseous. I get very, very anxious. I just do. It's the smell of hospitals. It's everything. They have a very distinct smell, and funeral homes. And so I could never imagine getting married or going to a wedding in that same building, knowing what happens there. And maybe that's just like my anxiety overthinking everything, but I just could not do that. It was my own wedding. It happened in a Mississippi judge's office with a bag of Cheetos on her desk. Crunchy or no? She wiped her hands on a napkin, grabbed a Bible, and did her thing with orange crumbs on her lips. Her work heels were not on because she was in her office. It was extremely rushed. I understand that she was on her break, but we didn't mind waiting. I don't know why they rushed us through. Oh God. I mean, that should not be allowed. I understand you're just getting married in like a judge's office, so it's not that extravagant anyways, but at least have shoes on. Like the Cheeto dust still on her hands and on her face. Wipe the evidence. I don't even know where to begin. The ceremony consisted of immediate family, then followed by a reception with all guests in a relatively nice hotel banquet hall. An hour in, at 7 p.m., the open bar was completely closed down. 7 p.m.? Multiple guests were throwing up in the bathroom sinks, and it caused flooding. The groom was so wasted even before the ceremony, but was blacked out by the reception. During the first dance, he kept his hands in his cargo khaki pants the entire time and ate dinner sitting on the floor in a corner of the hall, while the bride sat at the head table alone. About 2 hours in, the groom randomly left and slept at their house while the bride stayed in the newlywed suite by herself. They are now separated, as you may have assumed by this point. Okay, thank you for the update, because I was like, there is no way that this actually lasted. Did they even want to get married? They didn't even want to be together. They didn't want to spend the day together. It's their wedding. Oh my God, picturing people throw up in sinks. You gotta be so drunk. You gotta be so drunk. Oh my God, I was going to tell a really funny story about puking in a sink. Not me, but a friend. It actually wasn't my friend. My friend was with me. I made it sound like she was the one puking. Actually, I'll tell it. So anyways, we were really drunk one night downtown in my early 20s, as we all are. And we went to a Burger King close by to use the bathroom because we had to go to the bathroom. So we go in there and there is a girl because all the stalls are full. So a girl was puking in the sink. And then a girl who came out of a stall wanted to wash her hands and saw the girl puking in the sink. And she was like, oh, hell no. This ain't no 8 Mile, bitch. I'll never forget. And to this day, me and my friend who witnessed that, we still quote it to this day. This ain't no 8 Mile. Like, it's so funny. And turns out we chatted with her after because she made us laugh, and she is from Detroit, and she came over the border to party in Windsor, which is my hometown, which made it even better because she was from Detroit, and she was like, she was the best. She has such a sassy little attitude. Both of my middle sister's weddings. Her first wedding was while she was working as a carny and was held after closing time on the Midway at a small town county fair. Doesn't sound too bad. I may have been the only sober person there. There were definitely more tattoos than teeth in attendance. The second wedding was mostly okay, but the theme was camo. Okay, we're doing a themed wedding. My sister wore a camouflage wedding dress
with matching Crocs.
The groom wore jeans and a dress shirt with a camo vest. The cake was covered in camo pattern ribbons, and I don't know where the hell she got camo patterned silk roses, but the cake had a pile of those too. The groom from the second marriage is still my brother-in-law, and he's a really great guy. She left the first husband when he turned out to be an abusive, self-centered twat who contributed nothing to taking care of the kid. Okay, well, rightfully so. Goodbye. You know, camo's not my thing, but I don't judge if it's your thing. I think themed weddings could be kind of fun. I don't know. I don't know what I'll do come mine. Who frickin' knows, but it won't be camo, that's for sure. The bride and her sisters did a striptease and lap dance on the groom immediately following dinner, all in front of his grandmother. Well, forget the grandmother, forget everybody watching. The bride and sisters doing these striptease. I'm mortified. I have sisters and I'm just thinking about that happening. That ain't right. The bride made a speech thanking her in-laws for financial assistance for the event. Her mother was not thanked and she became furious. There was a long head table for the bridal party and parents made out of small tables pushed together and covered by one long tablecloth. The mother pulled a small table out of the arrangement, caught the tablecloth, and nearly destroyed the head table setup. Ooh. The bride got angry and there was much back and forth with various family members attempting to make peace. The mother of the bride refused to push back her table and began to invite others to sit with her. She continued to sit there and talk crap about her daughter, the bride, to anyone who would listen. Well, at that point, that's when you ask her to leave. Come on now. The wedding was in the middle of absolutely nowhere. It was a 5 p.m. wedding and there was no food served. We couldn't even run out and get McDonald's or something because there was nothing around. We also had to help set up tables and fill out our own thank you cards for the gifts we gave. They even had an example for us to follow. Dear blank, thank you for blank. We'll use it for blank. Then they asked us to help take down the tables as well. I refused to help and get the hell out of there, and there was no cake. If we're not having food or cake, what are the tables for? I don't even need to sit. I'm not eating. Well, it's to fill out your thank you cards. The ceremony was in a park. It was not booked or decorated. They just showed up and found a spot. And the reception was at a scout hall. No decorations again. For catering, the bride's family went through Red Rooster drive-thru and got a whole bunch of chickens and chips. They didn't even pre-order, and just went in 5 different cars, ordering one after the other. The groom and his mates brought their dirt bikes and after eating, went out and rode them around the hall. It was so loud and muddy. Well, that was probably a very cheap wedding. I also feel very bad for the employees working the drive-thru that day because that would suck. All right, guys, what is the tackiest thing you have seen at a wedding? I haven't seen anything tacky yet, but maybe I just haven't been to enough weddings. But let me know. I'm out of here though. Stay classy out there, stay sassy, and I will see you tomorrow.